Firefighting, always a dangerous profession, is with each day becoming more hazardous. The once reliable water hose is now ineffective against many different types of fires. The culprits are products of our modern use and dispose society. In Moncton, the Commodity Alert Retrieval System, or CARS, helps area firefighters keep pace with the increased risk. It's a program that attempts to identify and locate dangerous substances throughout the department's jurisdiction. The idea itself is not new, but its application shows a dramatic advance in accurate and rapid assessment.
Take one man in with you, and the other two can do the perimeter of the building outside.
Very good, sir.
Mr. Gilbert Horseman's here. He'd like to see you. Thank you.
How are you, sir? Not too bad. How are you? Fine. Fire prevention and...
These firefighters are checking the premises of this tenant in the Moncton Industrial Park.
Do an update on your Commodities Alert Retrieval System. Abbreviation is CARS.
Most industrial and commercial premises in Moncton will be subject to the same scrutiny. In this time, documentation of all hazardous material will be fed into the city's computers. In case of a fire at this location, pertinent information will be instantly available at the dispatcher's fingertips.
We have two more left to do after we...
Fire Prevention Officer Joe Horseman explains how this new system affects frontline action.
Well, we get a fire call to one of these establishments. What happens when the code comes in? Our communication officer down at our communication center, he just has to punch that code in, and a hard copy would come up on the screen, and the hard copy will roll out on the machine, and the captain can take that with him, and he knows exactly what the situation is on the way to the call.
I see. Why was it determined that this was necessary to do this at this time?
Well, I believe it was determined necessarily because of the amount of chemicals and hazardous material that's in the city and going through our city, different modes of transportation that leaves our city. We know, and we have seen it happen, and we have heard horror stories of chemical spills and hazardous waste, so it's always good to be prepared.
The upgrading of cars is most apparent here at the computer terminal. A system had to be developed to handle the massive input now being compiled by the fire crews. And this is the result. It represents the creativity of the fire department, summer students, and city employee Dan Moorhouse.
The method we envision it being used is the fire will occur at some location. The call will then be placed to the fire dispatcher, who will in turn, through inquiring to the system, bring up on his screen the information that has been compiled on that site. From there, he can do two things. He can either, through radio, contact the firefighters who were presently on the truck to the fire, telling them all the information which is important to know. The other option, which we hope is going to be the way it's going to happen, is he will be able to hit a key on the keyboard which will direct the information to a printer located at the fire station. From there, the printer, just like you may have seen on TV, the person will be able to tear off the printout and jump on the truck and read it as they're going and find out various information like where there's dangerous goods, products, or whatever.
In terms of time, how long will this take?
Well, from a computer point of view, this will be almost instantaneous because the amount of time it takes the dispatcher from the phone inquiring, if it was Eaton's, for example, they could just type in the words Eaton's, and all the information on Eaton's would appear on the screen. Then it just simply by pressing another button, the information would then start to print out at the fire station printer.
It doesn't end here. Future plans call for an even more efficient system, one based on diagrams.
I plan on seeing the system evolve more to a picture status. In a sense, instead of not only printing out a report to the fire station, which is all your information in written format, maybe we'd have a floor plan, which could clearly mark out the hot zones in this site. by doing something like that, well, I guess the old cliche of picture's worth 1,000 words comes to mind, because a firefighter very quickly, when they drive up, looking at the building, could say, well, this corner of the building, the north side, is presently on fire, and they could see that on the back south side, perhaps, that's where the dangerous commodities are, and they don't have to really worry that much at first.
The plan should extend beyond industrial facilities to hospitals, service and commercial areas. Eventually, residential areas themselves will be included. Obviously, this will depend upon the cooperation of those affected.
The material that we're gathering now is being entered into the computer as it comes along, and it's going to take us a little while to do all the warehousing, and then we're going to nursing homes, special care homes, hospitals, and get that done, and individual businesses, and get that done. And then after that, it's just a matter of going back, say, every 6 months or so, and just updating what information you have. Contact names have changed, or telephone numbers have changed, or maybe they had some extra commodities come into their warehouse.
Would the industries themselves be responsible for keeping this updated and alerting the fire department?
I would say so. Like, I think that an industry or a company that brought in a large supply of dangerous commodities, that, like, during this initial survey wasn't there should be a method. They should contact the fire department and tell them that, for example, we'll use Eaton's again. If Eaton's had a warehouse, and then they brought in a large supply of propane tanks for the summer season, they should notify the firefighters that this warehouse is going to have a large supply of propane tanks. And that way, if there was a fire at that warehouse, they would know. I think there's a lot of cooperation. From what I've heard from the firefighters or the fire department, is they have no problem. They're getting information, you know, is almost on request.
We all take for granted items used in everyday life. They are helpful and seemingly harmless. But in the event of a fire, knowing exactly where these substances are could mean the difference between life and death.
All these different chemicals need to be treated in different ways, I suppose. With
Yes,
foam
there's chemicals here we have in the city of Moncton you can't fight with water, and there's chemicals you can't fight with sand, and there's numerous things, and all this is going to be on the retrieval system for